They had crossed half the galaxy without slowing down. The Armada moved as a single, deliberate mass, thousands of vessels arranged with ceremonial precision, their hulls older than most civilizations they had erased. Each ship carried the weight of history, worlds burned, species catalogued and eliminated, star systems stripped down to raw resources. To them, conquest was not war. It was routine maintenance of the cosmos. Earth appeared on their long-range scans as a faint blue anomaly orbiting an unremarkable yellow star. Its radio noise was chaotic, inefficient. Its satellites were fragile. Its weapons primitive. The planet hosted a single dominant species that had barely stepped beyond its gravity well. According to every metric the Armada respected, this system posed no threat at all. The evaluation took less than a second. Humanity was classified as a non-peer intelligence. Industrial, aggressive, but strategically immature. Their military assets were localized, fragmented, and visible. Their presence beyond Earth was laughable. Thin colonies, slow ships, no unified command structure that could respond at interstellar speed. The conclusion was unanimous. Resistance would be symbolic at best. That pleased the commanders. There would be no need for complex maneuvers or resource-intensive engagements. The fleet maintained cruising formation as it entered the outer edge of the system. No shields were raised beyond standard radiation screens. No weapons were primed. There was nothing here worth preparing for. They had destroyed far greater powers for far less. Historical projections filled the Armada's data cores. Most species reacted the same way when extinction arrived. Panic. Disorganized defense. Desperate transmissions pleading for mercy. Occasionally, hollow threats. Sometimes silence, but silence always meant collapse, not resolve. Humanity would be no different. The Armada advanced past the Kuiper Belt without opposition. No probes approached them. No warning shots were fired. The few human satellites that detected their arrival screamed useless alerts before being blinded by sheer sensor overload. Earth's global networks lit up with confusion and fear, exactly as expected. The commanders allowed it. They did not jam human communications. There was no reason to. Let the species witness its end. Let them understand the scale of what had come for them. Fear, after all, was efficient. As the fleet closed the distance, the commanders reviewed humanity's brief, violent history. Internal wars. Nuclear near misses. Environmental damage. A species incapable of long-term unity, driven by short-term survival instincts. Dangerous to itself, perhaps, but not to anyone who mattered. They had not noticed something important. Humanity had never been conquered. The Armada's predictive models showed Earth falling within hours. Orbital superiority would be established first, followed by atmospheric dominance. Surface resistance would be neutralized in stages. Population centers would be reduced to compliance zones. The species would either submit or be removed. Either outcome was acceptable. Still, something felt empty. There were no diplomatic signals. No attempt at first contact. No structured military mobilization visible from orbit. Earth's space lanes were quiet. Its fleets did not scramble. Its defenses did not reorient. For a species facing annihilation, humanity was doing remarkably little. The anomaly was noted and dismissed. Primitive species often froze when confronted with inevitability. Shock masqueraded as calm. The Armada continued inward, passing the orbit of the gas giants with unbroken confidence. This was the final approach. Soon, Earth would be close enough to observe directly. Soon, the cleansing would begin. They did not accelerate. There was no urgency. No danger. No opponent worth acknowledging. Behind their flawless formation, stars bent gently around massive hulls. Ahead of them lay a quiet inner system, a silent blue world, and a species that believed, incorrectly, that it still had time. The Armada had come for prey. And prey, in all their long experience, never struck first. Earth did not answer. No surrender signals. No declarations of defiance. No frantic attempts at diplomacy. The alien armada listened across every known frequency band, expecting the usual cascade of panic and pleading. Instead, they found fragmentation, short bursts of human traffic collapsing into silence, networks going dark one by one, orbital chatter thinning until only static remained. To the Armada, this looked like collapse. Human governments ceased broadcasting public statements within minutes of confirmation. Civilian channels vanished next. Financial markets froze, not from chaos, but from command-level shutdown. From orbit, it appeared disorganized, even primitive. A species retreating inward, overwhelmed by the realization of its own insignificance. The commanders logged the behavior as psychological shock. What they did not hear were screams. Human military communications shifted instantly into encrypted channels the Armada could not parse. Terrestrial launch activity spiked briefly, then stopped entirely. No mass evacuation attempts followed. No desperate weapon tests. Humanity's surface grew quieter the closer extinction drew near. That quiet unsettled some of the Armada's junior tacticians. Species on the brink usually made noise. They flailed. They burned resources trying to prove they mattered. Humans did not. Their silence was deliberate, structured, synchronized. Entire continents went dark within minutes, not chaotically, but cleanly, as if flipped by the same invisible switch. Still, the senior commanders were unconcerned. Silence changed nothing. Earth was still defenseless. Humanity still possessed no fleet capable of meeting them. Whatever internal coordination was happening would end the same way all resistance ended. The Armada pressed inward. As they crossed deeper into the system, long-range sensors began reporting inconsistencies. Gravitational readings around the asteroid belt showed irregular mass distributions. Not natural clustering, engineered placement. Old placement. The data suggested structures that had been there far longer than humanity's recent expansion into space. The reports were flagged, then deprioritized. Human mining activity was known. Primitive industrial clutter often distorted readings. Nothing indicated weaponization. Nothing suggested threat. Near Mars' orbit, the anomalies increased. Artificial objects drifted where none should exist. Some were cold, absorbing radiation instead of reflecting it. Others produced brief sensor echoes before vanishing entirely. The Armada adjusted sensor resolution, assuming malfunction or interference from the inner system's stellar activity. Mars itself remained silent. No transmissions. No visible defense platforms. No fleet. Just a rust-colored world with thin atmosphere and scattered human infrastructure. Too small, too underdeveloped to matter. A failed colony, according to the Armada's records. Barely worth a footnote. And yet, human activity did not resume as the Armada advanced. There was no last-minute mobilization. No orbital defense grid snapping online. No heroic, futile charge to meet annihilation. Humanity simply withdrew. From space. From visibility. From every place the Armada expected them to be. The commanders interpreted this as fear refined into resignation. What they did not understand was that humanity had stopped reacting. Human decision-making had concluded within the first minutes. Threat assessment, probability analysis, outcome modeling, all finished. There was nothing left to debate. Humanity did not scramble because scrambling was useless. Humanity did not posture because posturing invited attention. They went quiet because the plan required silence. Deep beneath Earth's surface, systems older than many governments woke fully for the first time. Autonomous infrastructures that did not require human presence completed internal checks. Across the inner system, objects that had been inert for decades confirmed their alignment, their trajectories, their readiness. Mars was not a colony. It was a threshold. The Armada continued forward, certain of victory, blind to the fact that humanity had already stopped thinking in terms of defense. Earth was no longer the battlefield. Earth was no longer even relevant. Humanity had stepped aside. And for the first time in its long history of conquest, the alien Armada advanced toward a war that had already been decided, by a species that had chosen not to fight where it was expected to die. The Armada crossed the inner solar system without resistance, confident in its superiority. Every vessel remained aligned, every shield at minimal power, every weapon idle, because nothing they had encountered demanded otherwise. They were invincible, or so they believed. Then the anomalies became undeniable. Asteroids shifted in impossible patterns. Energy readings spiked briefly, then disappeared. Satellites the Armada assumed inert blinked and vanished, leaving no trace on any sensor. The Armada's communication network strained under the flood of conflicting data. No one knew what to report, because nothing in their history matched what they were witnessing. A few vessels attempted precautionary maneuvers, only to find their thrusters resisting commands. Gravimetric fields bent in unexpected ways. Navigational projections failed. The Armada realized, too late, that the architecture of the solar system itself had been subtly altered. Humanity had prepared corridors, traps, and kill zones invisible to external scanning, aligning them with trajectories the aliens could not anticipate. Kinetic strikes arrived without warning. Massive objects, once dormant in orbit, hurtled toward the fleet at relativistic speeds. No shields could deflect them. Ships disappeared in microseconds, leaving voids where once there had been hulking vessels. Sensors recorded the erasure in confusion, as if the universe itself had deleted the ships. No explosion, no fireball, just nothing. The Armada tried to regroup. Formation commands collided with automated safety overrides, causing collisions, misalignments, and catastrophic failures. Ships that had survived the first wave found themselves in trapped corridors that amplified gravitational stress. Hulls buckled under forces not accounted for in any engineering manual, tearing apart silently in the vacuum. Alien commanders attempted to coordinate countermeasures. High-energy beams, plasma arrays, gravitic projectiles, all were deployed, but the targets had vanished before weapons could reach them. Systems designed to intercept missiles or strike fleets preemptively failed repeatedly. The humans had anticipated reaction times down to milliseconds and orchestrated weapons that acted before the enemy could respond. Communication among the fleet broke down entirely. Signals were scrambled, interfered with by artificial fields around Mars and its orbital structures. Automated ships began firing on each other, interpreting movement patterns as hostile. A meticulously controlled armada descended into chaos while humans observed from a distance, never needing to engage directly. The alien mind tried to comprehend it. Their tactical models were precise, their simulations exhaustive, yet none accounted for this. The species they had considered inferior had weaponized patience, the vacuum, and orbital mechanics to devastating effect. Humanity had prepared a battle that existed in the interstitial space between sensors, between shields, between thought. The Armada could not fight what it could not see, could not predict, and could not understand. As the losses mounted, fear began to spread. The alien hierarchy, accustomed to instant obedience, faced panic cascading through its fleet. Ships designed to annihilate star systems were being removed one by one before they could act. Tactical certainty, their greatest advantage, crumbled under the realization that this species had rewritten the rules entirely. And then it became clear, the inner planets were a distraction. The Armada had been lured into zones where human infrastructure waited, not to defend, but to execute. The battlefield had never been Earth. Every calculation the aliens had made was irrelevant. Their fleet was no longer advancing into a system, it was advancing into a gauntlet, invisible until it struck, leaving nothing in its wake. Humanity had chosen its battlefield not where the enemy expected confrontation, but where destruction could be absolute. The Armada's arrogance, its certainty of supremacy, became the very mechanism of its annihilation. Every maneuver, every tactical advantage, every assumption the aliens relied upon was already nullified before they realized the war had begun. By the time the first remnants of the fleet attempted retreat, their retreat corridors had collapsed. The inner solar system had become an execution zone, not of human soldiers, but of human ingenuity writ across the architecture of space itself. There would be no recovery. There would be no rallying. Every step forward only delivered them deeper into the human trap, a trap prepared with patience measured in decades, executed with precision measured in seconds. The Armada's confidence evaporated faster than their sensors could update. Commanders barked orders into a void, but every protocol they relied upon was already irrelevant. Ships that had dominated entire star systems were now expendable objects, disappearing before countermeasures could even activate. Humanity's final phase had begun, and it unfolded with cold inevitability. Mars, long assumed to be an unthreatening waypoint, revealed its true purpose. Hidden beneath the surface, arrays of weapons older than any human warship fired without warning. Mass drivers, kinetic accelerators, and automated energy redirection systems struck with perfect timing. Entire squadrons were erased simultaneously, leaving behind no debris, no warning, only silence. Attempts at retreat were futile. The Armada's hyper-advanced navigation algorithms failed against corridors pre-calculated to trap, redirect, and annihilate. Vessels that tried to jump to safer distances found their exit vectors blocked, gravitationally pinned, or outright destroyed mid-transition. Every action the aliens took played directly into the human strategy, a meticulously choreographed collapse of what had once seemed invincible. Communication systems across the fleet broke down completely. Signals jammed by artificial gravitic interference prevented coordination. Automated defenses, designed to protect the Armada from external threats, began targeting their own allies in confusion. Ships collided in seconds, catastrophic breaches spreading through multiple layers of the formation. The Armada's order of battle disintegrated faster than it had taken them decades to assemble. The humans never appeared. There were no fleets to confront, no soldiers to fight. The entire campaign was executed through systems, infrastructure, and calculations built to operate independently of human intervention. By the time the first human-operated command centers transmitted, the alien fleet was already a skeleton of its former glory. The planet, the colonies, even Mars itself had become the trigger mechanism, but the human presence remained invisible, irrelevant. Every alien flagship was neutralized before it could fire its most devastating weapons. The pride of 1,000 years of conquest was erased in moments. Ships that had survived initial kinetic strikes were shredded by secondary automated defenses, precisely calibrated to exploit the smallest vulnerabilities. The alien commander's orders became meaningless. The mechanisms of destruction required no one to operate them. The survivors' panic spread contagiously. Smaller vessels, designed for scouting or communication, attempted erratic maneuvers, only to be intercepted by trajectories they could not perceive. Their shields collapsed under indirect gravitational strain. Hulls ruptured as artificial fields manipulated tidal forces. Even the most advanced technology could not counter the silent, invisible, inevitable precision of humanity's trap. By the time the alien Armada realized the scale of their losses, escape routes were sealed. Every path outward had been calculated, manipulated, and nullified in advance. Attempted hyperspace jumps misfired. Energy redirection systems targeted critical points of propulsion. Ships that once defined galactic terror vanished without trace. Not a single vessel made it past the inner system intact. Communication attempts to the wider galaxy failed. Distress signals were captured mid-transmission and redirected back as warnings, a single, clear message. Humanity did not negotiate. Humanity did not gloat. The message was simple and undeniable. Approach this system, and annihilation will be immediate and absolute. The solar system returned to silence. The debris field was minimal. The alien ships were erased more than destroyed. Humanity's work left no trophies for observers, only the unambiguous proof of complete and precise execution. Mars, once a red sentinel, now symbolized the threshold of power that the aliens had underestimated entirely. No force had challenged the Armada this way before. They had conquered countless civilizations, yet this was different. Humanity had annihilated them without conventional battle, without a single exposed soldier, without warning. The aliens' confidence had been weaponized against them, and in the end, there was nothing left to recover. What remained was a quiet, empty system and a species that had chosen efficiency, patience, and precision over spectacle. Humanity had not celebrated. They had merely ensured survival and sent a message that would echo far beyond the solar system. Intrusion into this domain would no longer be tolerated. Every alien vessel that had believed itself supreme had vanished before Mars came fully into view. The solar system fell silent. No alarms. No signals. No movement beyond the automated orbitals that had carried out humanity's final phase. The alien armada that had crossed half the galaxy lay gone, erased so completely that even distant observers might never know it had existed. Humanity did not cheer. There was no victory parade, no proclamation. There was only methodical calm. A single broadcast was prepared and transmitted outward, encoded in formats designed to reach every nearby star system capable of receiving it. It was not a threat, nor a challenge, nor an invitation. It was a statement of fact: Earth would not be conquered. Intrusion would meet immediate and absolute retaliation. The words were few, but the meaning was unmistakable. Any civilization capable of intercepting the message would understand the futility of aggression. Humanity had never sought war beyond its system. Its expansion into space had been measured, cautious, and deliberate. Yet when faced with annihilation, it had responded with the precision of a species that understood both its limitations and its strengths. The lesson sent by the destruction of the alien armada was simple: underestimate humanity at your own peril. Every calculation, every assumption, every prediction of inferiority had been weaponized against the would-be conquerors. Far beyond Mars, long-range sensors recorded the aftermath. Debris fields were minimal, meticulously cleared by automated processes. What remained were the empty voids where ships had once been, ghostly reminders of the Armada's arrogance. Humanity had not left signs of themselves in the battle zone. The solar system had been defended, not conquered. The distinction mattered. No spectacle, no unnecessary destruction, only clean, deliberate eradication of the threat. Humanity's networks came back online in measured stages. Life continued on Earth, in orbit, on scattered colonies. Communications resumed not with triumph, but with routine updates. Resources were replenished, surveillance systems monitored the inner and outer system, and preparation for future contingencies continued. The Armada's destruction was neither a surprise nor an endpoint. It was confirmation that humanity had always been ready for what others believed impossible. The wider galaxy would eventually detect the consequences. Records of lost fleets, of communications cut mid-transmission, of entire warships erased without trace, would circulate among nearby civilizations. The data would be fragmented, terrifying, and difficult to interpret. Analysts would puzzle over what had occurred, over how a seemingly primitive species had neutralized an entire armada before it reached its target. Speculation would abound, and a single conclusion would grow impossible to ignore: Earth was defended by forces beyond ordinary comprehension. Yet humanity remained invisible. There was no conquest beyond the solar system, no expansion fueled by arrogance or vengeance. The message was simple: do not attack. Survive. Observe. Prepare. Strength existed not in display but in readiness, in calculation, in patience honed across generations. The destruction of the alien armada was not a statement of ambition, it was proof of resolve. Within the inner system, Mars remained a sentinel, the arrayed systems dormant but ready. Humanity's true strength had been hidden in plain sight. Preparations spanning decades, coordinated silently, executed with absolute precision. The galaxy would remember the Armada's failure, but it would never fully understand the mechanisms. That was deliberate. Humanity's power did not require recognition, only survival and deterrence. And so, Earth continued. The stars beyond the solar system remained vast and quiet. Humanity had spoken without shouting, destroyed without exposure, and defended without compromise. The solar system was now a line drawn in the void, a warning unmistakable to any who might consider aggression. Intrusion would be met with certainty, precision, and finality. The lesson was clear. Civilization after civilization might rise, species after species might expand, but when the predators of the galaxy approached, humanity would not be prey. It never had been. It never would be. The alien Armada's fate was proof enough. The quiet species on the pale blue dot was a force beyond expectation, beyond calculation, and utterly relentless when survival demanded it. Humanity had protected home, and in doing so, had written its warning across the stars for all to read.